Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Aaron Gordon here, and we are back here with the Aaron Gordon podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. I have my special guest, Jacqueline Robinson, here. We were former Seton Hall Pirates at the same time. We went in together in 2016. She was in a soccer player, and I was in a basketball player for Seton Hall. How's everything going?
It's going good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So, most of my followers are from the Midwest. I think a lot of people probably don't necessarily know what it's like growing up on the East Coast, especially being an athlete on the East Coast. What was that entire experience like, being on the competitive side of really the United States and, just growing up in New Jersey and, just growing up playing soccer and obviously you were a multi-sport athlete, but we'll get into that. But what was it like, just growing up in New Jersey?
Yeah, I love New Jersey. I grew up by the beach, so it was definitely a very different vibe than probably most people grew up with.
Yeah.
But with sports, it was always super, super competitive, especially soccer. There was always a lot of really good players coming out of New Jersey, going to top tier schools. So I was really grateful to grow up around that. And it was always competitive and I was always getting better, even just high school club.
So did you feel the pressure to go to Seton Hall? Like, was that a tough decision for you?
A little bit after I had started speaking to the coach,
Yeah.
and it was just a little kind of even for my family and stuff to stay in New Jersey, stay in the area, the whole shore girl recognition thing. And definitely at Seton Hall, people kind of enjoy that. And, there's a lot of New Jersey people that stay there.
Yeah, it's funny because like my experience at Seton Hall, I was not expecting so many people from New Jersey to go to Seton Hall. And I don't know why, because it's so close to, New York. I was expecting, to be a lot of people from everyone in the tri-state area, a couple people from the New England area. But there's a lot of, what we say New Jerseyans, Jerseyans, sometimes people say. And I was kind of shocked. I thought it was like a true like international school. But when I was out there, obviously I came from Indianapolis and I think that was a really good experience just for me to go there and, just to see so many people from New Jersey, from smaller towns, because I really start to understand how New Jersey is. And in my mind, I was thinking that New Jersey is just like just a random like suburb of New York City if you haven't been out there. But no, it's got its own like different flair. Like it's very different than New York City. Like it's they have a lot of different suburbs. They have a lot of different townships. They have a lot of different areas. And if you're in Newark per se, it's a lot different than where you're from near the beach. And it's very different. So what was that experience like, just living near the beach, kind of just, living differently than a lot of other people?
I mean, I'm blessed to just have grown up in that way and around definitely have that Jersey vibe that some of us do. I think it was a little different because growing up in Central Jersey, like you were saying, even when, people that live closer to the city, it's a bit different culturally. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot more calmer for me. But in
Very
the town that I
diverse.
lived in, yeah, I grew up in Matawan, so it was still a very diverse town. So I still saw so many different types of people and I was around that, which was great.
How far away were you from Philadelphia?
Probably about two hours.
2 hours, and you were what,
Yeah.
about 2 hours away from New York City?
Yeah. Get
Yeah.
there about an hour and a half. Yeah.
Oh, hour and a half. Okay, okay. Did you use the drain system going up? Like, what was that like? Because I know a lot of people that in New Jersey that don't, or some people that only use the train system. That was what was so weird to me.
Yeah, no, I took the trains a lot actually. I ended up going to a Catholic high school out of my town. So I would take
Yeah.
the train all the time to school in the morning after
Really?
practices, stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow. So is that like a normal thing? Like, were parents like were people ever scared to like take the train in the morning to school?
Not really. We kind of had our own little group of kids and we would all meet up at our different train stops and take the train in together.
Dang, that's
So
so
it was
cool.
nice. It's a totally
Dang.
different
So
experience.
So what was it like being a multi-sport athlete? Because you did high jump, you played basketball, you played soccer. What was that like, in high school? Was that, overwhelming? Because obviously you still have to be a good student to get into Seton Hall and have to worry about all that. What was that entire process like for you?
I always loved playing multiple sports, so kind of cutting down to go to college was a big change for me. I played all different types of sports growing up, soccer, like you were saying, basketball, even
Because I knew
softball,
you played
track.
basketball, but I didn't know you did high jump. I did not know that.
Yes, yes.
So you were busy all year round. Like you did not have not one off season in high school.
Yeah, no. I loved it though. Sports was my home for me. I met so many amazing people playing sports on a team for basketball, a club for soccer. So it was great. And I definitely wouldn't have changed for anything looking back. I feel like it definitely shaped a large part of me now.
So what was it like when you wanted to decide to study engineering? Because obviously everyone knows that's probably the toughest or maybe the second toughest thing to study in school. And I know you didn't just randomly just say, okay, I want to be an engineer one day. What is it? Did you have family or did you just see something one day? Like, how did you go about, saying, okay, I want to become an engineer one day?
I was just always very interested in it when I was younger. I always wanted to tinker with little things, whether it was like a fan or something. And my
Mhm.
parents would just always buy me the small kits, anything they could do, the little solar powered cars that I could build myself, all that stuff. So I kind of was around it from a young age, thanks to my parents. And that just kind of continued with that love for that. I always enjoyed math and engineering. So I definitely thought it was a good way to also make a change within communities. And now being in sustainability, kind of able to do that a bit more.
So you may not remember this, but there was one day where this is something that stuck out with me. You talked to me about Habitat for Humanity. You did something like that when you were in high school. I did not know what exactly that was. I'm not sure if you did that while you were in college, but you had told me about it. What was that process like, and how did that help you as a person?
Yeah, Habitat for Humanity, I didn't do it into college, but I did it in high school and was
Mhm.
part of the club. It's a great experience to just see different people from different backgrounds and be able to give back and help out. We're not, we think sometimes maybe a house is something so
Yeah.
little, so taken for granted for, but people really need the help out there, and it's it's pretty amazing. And these people are just always so grateful and always also then willing to give back to you and knowledge back.
Yeah. And also you did Make-A-Wish Foundation. What was that, like, how fulfilling was that, going into high school? I mean, going into college.
Yeah, I loved working with kids. I was coaching at the time too. So Make a Wish is great because the kids are just so impactful and they're so energetic all the time, no matter what's going on in their lives. They're
Mhm.
just really happy to be a part of it and be there. So it's a great organization. I hope to maybe one day get back into Make a Wish, but the kids just make it amazing.
So what was your experience like at Seton Hall? Because I think a lot of people had a lot of different experiences, especially like for someone that was from far away. I really got to really experience New Jersey. I never obviously went home. I went home once a year. And New Jersey is pretty much like my home. What was that experience like for you to go there? Did you go back home at all? Was it hard, having the pressure of, still being at home and, people are probably, asking you how you're doing and everyone's just a call away. What was that like? Because see, for me, when I left, I still obviously had contact with, people back home, but it was a little different. Like it didn't feel like there was any tug of, I kind of just knew I was off on my own. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, going to Seton Hall before I went, my parents kind of made me make a pact with them saying I couldn't come home too often because they wanted to almost push me out of the house a bit and get
Yeah.
me out on my own. But I was lucky enough to be close to my house. I was about 45-minute drive, and
Mhm.
family is really important for me. So it was wonderful to still be able to see my parents, have them come up for the games. And I think that's part of the reason why I decided to go to Seton Hall, even though the area was a bit different than Central Jersey and the shore.
Yeah. So what was your favorite moment just being a Seton Hall student? Not even just being an athlete, but being a Seton Hall student. What was your favorite moment?
Wow, it's a tough one. My favorite moment. um, Honestly, probably senior night when, yeah, we went on my senior night with senior year, and it was pretty amazing because it was people that had graduated from 4 years ago, people that were new to the team and everything, and we all just kind
Mhm.
of came together on that day, and it was amazing. And we finally got a win as well, which was pretty great. And it was just nice to kind of see, the accumulation of Team Hall and all the amazing people that I've met kind of come together in that moment and, celebrate all of us together.
So, I have experience. Not, there's going to be a lot of younger viewers, especially, basketball players, etc. Boys and girls basketball players, of course. Talk about your experience playing in the Big East and how hard it was and how hard it was to maintain, athletics and academics and practice schedule. Because I think a lot of people don't necessarily know exactly how hard it is. And, what did you do to become successful to, graduate really well, do the right things, be a leader, and just pretty much just have an overall just good, college career on and off the field.
Yeah, I definitely think time management was the biggest thing for me that I had to learn when I first had gotten in my freshman year. I'm sure you definitely experienced that as well.
Yeah, it was tough. I think my freshman year, I really struggled with time management because I wanted to just do everything I just wanted to be everywhere. And I think that's one thing that I noticed when I went to New Jersey that I didn't necessarily have when I was in Indianapolis is like, because in Indianapolis, normally people may go out maybe once a week, maybe a Saturday. Even it's not even really popular to go out on Fridays. And you normally only hung out with people at certain times. There wasn't really a lot to do. There's no concerts. It's just really nothing until Saturday. And, it's just really easy. But when I went out to New Jersey, there was always something going on Thursday, Friday, in the mornings, during the day. You could travel to New York City. And I think like for me, that was the hardest part. It's just not trying to be everywhere at one point. And I think that was a big thing for me. What was your experience like?
I definitely agree with that. That was the hardest thing for me coming in. And
Yeah.
just, you're so excited and you want to dive into like everything, but you also need to, obviously give the most to your sport and still school. So figuring out that balance was so important. But once I did, it was great. And then, it was kind of coasting till then until I graduated and making sure I was just doing what I was supposed to do on the field, off the field, and in the classroom.
So this is an interesting topic. So you decided to elect to go to one of the hardest schools in the entire world. What was that entire decision-making process like? And, how hard of a decision was it to, want to choose such a prestigious school?
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to continue after Seton Hall and go get my master's and stay in engineering. And Columbia was kind of my top choice. I felt like being in the city it's great because there's just so much around. And again, with the time management though, but
yeah,
you're just around a lot of really, really intelligent people. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to apply there, more so than the name and all that. But to be able to pick up from people and your professors and even just students from all over the planet that just come to this little school in New York to learn together. It's pretty amazing.
What was your first experience like when you first stepped on campus as a student in Columbia? Like, I think not a lot of people had that experience to go to one of the top schools, the Ivy League school, like a world-renowned school. What was that, process like when you were able to walk there as a graduate student?
It was pretty amazing. Yeah, it was a very proud moment for me. With COVID and everything, we were online
that
for a bit.
A lot.
It did, yeah. It kind of, felt a little, crappy, but it was still just such a proud moment to even have gotten there and gotten in and starting on classes. And it's still super exciting to be finishing off now and, be able to now hang that diploma up on the wall and be like, yeah, I went here, I completed this.
Mm-hmm. So obviously for most people who know you or maybe who may not know you, but may know you from afar, everyone knows that you are a huge advocate for Black Lives Matter. What exactly really sparked you to, become an advocate for it, to make it known? And, what do you want to contribute out of it? And what were your overall experiences like from it?
Yeah. So like I said, just living in New Jersey, growing up, I did grow up in a very diverse town, but then once I went to a Catholic school, I had a completely different outlook at life. I was kind of just thrown to the wolves. And I was one of the, that was a struggle for me and just my identity in general. So for then, the past being in college after that, was always important to me to see if someone may be struggling as well, that, I went through that too, and should be proud of who you are. There's no reason anyone should be able to, make us feel down about who we are in our skin. So for me, I think it's important to continue to come together as a community and have these conversations and help the people that are younger than us. So, they maybe don't even have to grow up like that at all. And they don't have to go through some of those same journeys that we went through.
So what do you think are the biggest conversations that need to be had about Black Lives Matter?
Oof. I think in general, people need to not be scared to be open.
Yeah.
And not be scared of repercussions of what they may say, because, if that kind of continues, then I think there's less space for growth there. And especially at Seton Hall, just, even within Seton Hall, there was a few issues there too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, especially on an athletics level, it's important for coaches and people in authority positions to start these conversations.
And I think like one of the big things that I try to tell people who may or may not, think that this is an issue. I think the reason why they don't think it's an issue is because it's so embedded in our culture. Like one thing that I notice within sports is like, as soon as something changes, then you see, okay, wow, that was such a big problem then. Because I was telling this to somebody about like the brawls, and there was a huge brawl between Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons. Everyone knows about that if you were an NBA fan. And they were just saying that they couldn't believe that they would allow like fans on the court. Before, years ago, they used to allow fans to rush the court during the NBA finals while the players were playing. And, obviously bad things happened after that. But now, like back then, they used to think like that was fine. But until you see like, you're like, oh man, like that made no sense before. But that was what was embedded in the culture. And I think that a lot of people don't look at things like that because it's what's in our culture now. So I think that's a good conversation to have, is to get out of our comfort zone and to try to challenge what's in the past to now, because I think a lot of people don't really even notice, hey, like that may have been racist that you may have done that, or maybe that's just how things are, and maybe things are just the way that they are just from just an historical process. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely agree with that. It's just really the whole ignorance is bliss type of thing of, if people don't experience it, they don't know, or they don't understand, they almost don't believe it, which is such a huge issue. Mm-hmm. So it's getting people to connect and, just take people's word for things and move forward and grow from that. But
so did you do any of the marches?
Yeah.
Which one did you do?
So it was pretty great because I was able to do one in South Orange, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was kind of Black Lives Matter came together with the LGBTQ community within South Orange as well. And it was a really powerful march. I went to a few others within New Jersey. Definitely was still trying to stay a little careful with COVID, but it was very powerful. And I think it really brought, at least for me, a lot of people together.
So when was the aspect that you wanted to be a part of the LGBTQ community? Was it around college, or did you know, or, what was that process like for you? Because everyone has a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, so that was kind of a whole other journey for myself, and kind of coming to terms and loving who I was without, a lot of people still think that it's a lifestyle choice and whatnot. But kind of goes hand in hand with Black Lives Matter, of just loving yourself and being okay with that and not listening to what other people have to think about that. So I think when you could have marches like that bring those two together on that front, it's pretty full. And you open up people who, we were walking by people who had signs of opposite things, we're able to maybe show some of those people that it's not a bad thing at the end of the day.
So were you in college when you realized that you were gay, or were you in high school?
Oh, yeah, I was definitely in high school.
You were definitely in high school?
Yeah.
What was that process like? When did you, figure that out?
I think probably always when I was a bit younger, but I think that's why it's so important to have representation in media, whether or not, music, any type of art form, realistically, because I wasn't really exposed to that as much. So
yeah,
it was a very confusing time for me. And even in high school, the Catholic high school, it was so confusing, and I didn't know what everything was. And then finally getting into college, you meet a lot more people, and you meet people that are like you and look like you. And you're like, okay, it's really not bad at all. Like, I'm not alone. And there's a whole community that's with me on this.
So we talked a little bit about it, before this. Obviously, women in STEM, and I think that you having such a unique, diverse culture, and you, like you said, you being, the only one who is Black, gay, who works in your field. What was that entire process like? Because me personally, and like many other people, I'm a college basketball player. On most college basketball teams, you're going to have about 7 or 8 Black guys, like most of them, like literally like 90% of them. So every single day I'm seeing, a lot of people who are white or Black, and that's what I'm used to. You may get a couple of Asian kids here, or maybe a couple overseas, kids there, whatever the case may be. But for the majority, every single day I go in, I'm seeing, black boys. I'm seeing, white boys, and I'm kind of, it comes into a comfortable state where I don't necessarily even feel indifferent at all. What was that process like for you, going in every single day and kind of just being the only one?
Um, a bit more women around it, but definitely, I realize how male dominant the field is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even for Black men, there's not even that many Black men in my program. So there's people from all across the world, but still it's kind of hard to find other people that are like you. But, I was named after Jackie Robinson. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you just have to stay confident in who you are as a person and continue on your path, just how kind of Jackie Robinson did, no matter if there aren't people that look like you around, to kind of make that path for now more to come after. And I hope that's a bit of what I'm doing. And maybe one day, someone will be able to see me in the workforce or whatever,
Yeah.
and be like, okay, yeah, I could do that.
So you kind of want to be a huge growing inspiration, because like I said, for me, like if I had a daughter, obviously I don't have any younger sister or anything, but like you would be one person I would really tell, her to look up to, because like I said, you don't necessarily know exactly how everything's going to fold out. But if you're confident in who you are, your abilities, like I said, you don't have to be the best at anything, but if you want to be the best version of yourself, and that's the reason why I really wanted to do a podcast with you. I think that when you are able to go through a lot of different things and become the best versions of yourself, like I said, you're a black gay woman that goes to literally, in my personal opinion, I think a top 3 school in the entire world that I went to
Thank
school
you.
with. That's not done very often, but I think it's really important to push to be the best version of you that you can be, with odds stacked against you, because whatever the case is, like I said, you may not be the smartest student, you may not be the best athlete, but if you continue to push being the best you, things always seem to work out better. Have you felt that for yourself? Like, not to toot your own horn, even though I know you're not that type of braggadocious person, but, do you think that that is one thing that you have done to, really get yourself to, such a high standard?
For sure. I didn't even think I was going to get into Columbia, to be honest. So for that, getting in, and I was like, I'm going to go on that journey afterwards, was so important to me. And, even if you think you might not get in somewhere, I was going to not apply, but then I actually met another woman in engineering, and she was just kind of explaining to me, like, to stay, like you said, very confident, stay on your path, whether or not you're going to get there or not. And she's like, what's the worst case? You get denied. And
Yeah.
I ended up getting in, and she's like, see, I knew you could do it, but, just keep that confidence in yourself and never let anything stop you, whether or not you think you may not have the qualifications for something. Like you said, you may not have the best grades, may not be the best athlete, to still just continue to push down, because you never really know where your path will end up.
So I have a couple of fun questions. I always got 4 fun questions to end off the interview. So I thought it'd be fitting, since you're a New York girl. I normally like to answer, 4 or 5 quick questions at the end, and then I'll let you have your closing statement. But which one would you rather stay in, Upper or Lower Manhattan?
Probably Lower Manhattan. I'm actually in Upper Manhattan right now.
But you like Lower Manhattan?
Yeah, there's just a bit more to do, more nightlife there.
Yeah, for sure. Taxi or Uber?
That's a hard one. Probably taxi now. Uber is they're bringing themselves down. Taxi,
Yeah. Car or train?
train.
Pizza or hot dogs?
Oh, pizza all the way. 99-cent
Man.
pizza. Come on.
For some reason, everyone in the Midwest says hot dogs. Everyone on the East Coast says pizza. I always, that's just a universal thing.
Well, come on. We got the best pizza on the East Coast, so
Yeah,
it makes sense.
really in the world. When I went over there, the pizza on the East Coast, specifically New York, I do like New Jersey pizza. What was that one place called Trattoria in
Oh
South Orange?
yeah.
That was literally and I vlogged that. Like everyone knows that's where I used to eat at. That was probably the best pizza I have ever had.
Oh, the place is amazing. Yeah. And they're just like that all across New Jersey, New York. So we're lucky for that.
For sure, for sure. But anyways, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. Everyone follow you at, what's your name on Instagram again?
At Jackie Robs.
At Jackie Robs. Make sure you guys follow her at Jackie Robs. Thank you so much for, sharing your experience. Like I said, it means, the word for me for you to come on my podcast, share your experiences, because obviously you've made it such a far way and you're only 23, 24 years old. So, it's been a blessing just to see you, do so well and to, remain friends for you for all these years. And it's, I can't believe I haven't physically seen her in 3 years. It's been weird.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. I mean, thanks for having me and thanks for chatting with me here and for me to tell my story. And hopefully, maybe someday me and you can also help the younger generation kind of push through.
For sure, for sure. Well, thank you so much.